Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're looking at a real game changer, how to transform those frustrating, disappointing carrot harvests by using a highly structured, scientifically sound watering strategy. Carrots are notoriously a silent crop. By the time you actually notice the damage, it's already done, hidden deep underground. Okay, let's dive into this. Now, there's a pretty stark contrast we need to consider right off the bat. On one hand, imagine pulling up an incredible 14 pounds of perfect, farm-straight carrots from just a single 4-foot stretch of a raised bed. Amazing, right? But on the other hand, well, you get a sad tangle of forked, woody stubs that branch out into 3 or 4 little legs. Now, what's truly fascinating about this is that both of these harvests came from the exact same dirt, the exact same raised bed, and literally the exact same seed packet. The only variable that changed was the watering method. So here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, the great carrot mistake. Then, phase 1, gentle germination. After that, phase 2, deep root training. Next up, maturation and flavor tapering. And finally, the secret soil ingredient.
Starting with section 1, the great carrot mistake, a core misunderstanding.
You see, the core misunderstanding that completely dooms a harvest really comes down to treating carrots like tomatoes or squash. It all boils down to this fundamental question. Why do carrots fork in the first place? Like, why do they deform, split, and turn into those hairy little monsters instead of the straight, beautiful roots we actually want? Well, the answer lies in exactly how roots behave underground in response to your daily habits. What's really fascinating here is the actual biological definition of a taproot. A carrot root is genetically a seeker. It is literally programmed to grow toward water. So if you go out every evening and give your garden a nice, friendly, shallow sprinkle, that water only darkens the top inch of the soil. The carrot root, being a seeker, realizes, hey, the only water to be found is right up near the surface. It has absolutely no reason to drive downward, so it stays shallow and it starts chasing that moisture sideways, and that's exactly how you get those branched, hairy stubs. Let's move to and see how this builds across the lifespan of the plant. To grow perfect carrots, we absolutely must adapt our watering to these 4 precise physiological phases. We've got the 21-day sprouting phase, the drive-down phase, the bulking up phase, and finally the taper.
All right, section 2, phase 1, gentle germination, the first 21 days.
This right here is the critical window where your entire crop is won or lost, long before you ever even see a single leaf pop through the soil. During these first 3 weeks, the seed is just sitting right in the top half-inch of dirt. If that top layer dries out even once, a lot of those seeds are just going to quit on you. The ultimate failure mode here is what we call the baking crust. Basically, if you water hard and then let the soil dry out in the hot afternoon heat, the surface sets up like a dried-out cake. Those weak little carrot sprouts physically cannot push through it, and that leaves you with patchy, half-empty rows. Not fun. So to prevent that nasty crust, you've got to keep the soil dark and damp, kind of like a wrung-out sponge. Here are the exact steps. First, use a watering can with a fine mist head. A hard stream will literally blast the tiny seeds right out of the soil. Second, lay a flat board or a strip of burlap right over the planted row. That holds the moisture in and blocks the baking sun. And third, check it every single day. The very moment you see sprouts, remove that board immediately. This guarantees an even, full germination.
Moving on to section 3, phase 2, deep root training. Stop daily sprinkles.
Okay, once your seedlings hit about 2 to 3 inches tall, the game completely changes. I absolutely love this piece of folksy wisdom. Don't tickle the dirt, soak it, and then walk away. This is your mantra for the deep root training phase. You need to entirely abandon those light daily sprinkles and shift to deep, infrequent watering. You water slowly, heavily, and then you just walk away and leave the bed alone for 4 or 5 days. You actually want to let the top layer dry out a bit between those soakings. So the crucial point is that the water must reach 6 to 8 inches deep. You can actually check this just by pushing your finger or maybe a chopstick into the dirt a few hours after watering. When the surface dries out but there's still deep moisture down below, that genetic seeker gets a very clear signal. It knows the water is down low, so it drives one single taproot straight down to go get it. And that is exactly how you train a carrot to grow long and straight.
Next is section 4, maturation and flavor tapering. Steady moisture control.
As the carrot starts putting on real size, it needs a completely different approach. With roots, consistency beats intensity. That's brilliant advice from a balcony gardener with 2 decades of experience. At this bulking stage, carrots just want steady, predictable moisture, roughly an inch of water a week. What wrecks carrots isn't necessarily too much or too little water, it's the wild swing. If the bed goes bone dry and then you panic and flood it, well, the carrots take a massive drink all at once. The inside of the root actually grows faster than the skin, and boom, the carrot splits right open down the side. The easiest, most effective way to prevent those destructive swings is to simply apply 2 to 3 inches of straw or shredded leaf mulch over the bed. This simple step acts as a really powerful buffer. It holds the moisture in, keeps the surface from baking, and basically flattens out those wild moisture swings. That ensures the soil stays evenly damp between waterings, so your carrots can swell smoothly without cracking wide open. Now we arrive at what might be the most counterintuitive step. In the final 2 to 3 weeks before harvest, you actually need to cut your watering back by about half. Heavy late watering fills the plant's tissue with water, which dilutes the sugars and leaves you with a pale, cardboard-tasting carrot that cracks super easily. But when you taper the water by half, the plant is forced to concentrate its sugars, and that's the secret to getting a genuinely sweet harvest right out of the dirt. Let's summarize the 3 well-meaning but totally destructive mistakes gardeners make into a quick mental checklist. Number 1, overhead misting. That only wets the top inch, causing shallow forking. Number 2, the dry then flood cycle. This shocks the root, leading to splitting and rotting. And number 3, heavy late watering right up to harvest day. That dilutes the flavor until your carrots taste like wet cardboard. Just avoid these 3 things and you're well on your way. Finally, Section 5, the secret soil ingredient, loosening heavy soil. Now, you might be wondering, what if you're doing all of this correctly, but the water just simply won't sink in? If you have heavy clay loam, water tends to just pool on the surface and run off. And if the water can't get 6 to 8 inches down, our deep root training trick physically cannot work. Enter garden gypsum, or calcium sulfate. It's a natural mineral used specifically to loosen up hard, tight clay soils. The application is super straightforward. Every fall, right after clearing out the spent plants, scatter exactly 2 pounds of garden gypsum across a 4x8 bed. Just rake it lightly into the top 3 inches of soil and then let the winter rains naturally carry it down into the root zone. And this brilliantly illustrates how it actually functions mechanically, because, gypsum is not a fertilizer. Instead, it physically forces tight, microscopic clay particles to clump together into larger crumbs. This opens up tiny new drainage channels in the soil, so suddenly water drains straight down instead of just sitting on top. It allows your deep soaks to actually reach the root zone, giving that taproot a clear, loose, and straight path to follow. And the absolute best part about all this? It works anywhere. You don't need some massive yard. This exact watering rhythm, the gentle misting, the deep root training, mulching, and tapering, it scales perfectly. It works beautifully in raised beds, in-ground gardens, or even deep containers on a small urban patio. Literally, just as long as you provide the physical depth the taproot wants, you're good to go. So as you prepare for your next planting season, I really want to leave you with this provocative question to think about. Are you growing cardboard, or are you growing carrots? By abandoning those daily sprinkles and applying this strict chronological watering system, you can completely transform your next harvest. Try it with just 1 bed this season and taste the difference for yourself. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.